Say it's a bit like an exam room, this, isn't it? But, you may pick your pens up now. Yeah. Okay. Are we recording? Yep. Okay. Thank you. I'm going to read out this piece of paper when I find it. It tells us, for the public's benefit, good evening, everyone. It's nice to see everybody in person again, even at a distance. And officers, as people will have noticed, are going to be zooming in from home. I would like to welcome you this evening, and we're having it like this because councillors are now required to attend in person following the expiry of the Coronavirus Act regulations, which permitted online meetings. We are meeting in a socially distanced layout in the council chamber with a small number of seats provided for the press and public. Tonight's meeting is the first to use the new equipment connecting the chamber into Microsoft Teams. Into a Microsoft Teams meeting, and most of the officers involved this evening will be joining via Teams. There is no live stream, unfortunately, available tonight, but a recording of the meeting will be uploaded to the website after the meeting, and I hope we can work on sorting that out for future meetings, not just of planning, but other meetings as well. There are a number of new members of the committee, so I will ask councillors to introduce themselves one by one. My name is Jo Lovelock. I am Norfolk Ward Councillor and Chair of the Planning Applications Committee. We start with Councillor Challenger.
Hi there, I'm Councillor Liam Challenger of Catesgrove and Vice Chair of the Planning Applications Committee.
And Councillor Carnell, I think you're next alphabetically.
Good evening, I'm Councillor Paul Carnell, Thames Ward Councillor.
Thank you. And Councillor Devine.
Good evening, Councillor Ricky Devine, Lib Dem Councillor for Tilehurst.
Thank you. And Councillor Ennis.
Long time since I worked one of these. Hello, I am Councillor John Ennis, Councillor for Southcott.
Thank you. And Councillor Emberson, welcome back to Planning Applications Committee. I know you were on it a couple of years ago, but welcome back.
Yep, thank you. Councillor Ellie Emberson, Minster Ward Councillor.
Thank you. And also Mickey Lang, new to the committee, welcome.
Hello, I'm Councillor Mickey Lang, Whitley Ward.
Thank you. And Councillor McEwen.
Good evening, Chair. Ruth McEwen, Councillor for Church Ward.
Councillor Page.
Good evening, Councillor Tony Page, lead member for Strategic Environment, Planning and Transport, Deputy Leader of the Council and an Abbey Ward Councillor.
Thank you. And Councillor Robinson.
Good evening, Chair. Good evening, everyone. My name is Councillor Simon Robinson, representing Peppard Ward.
Thank you. And Councillor Rowland.
Good evening, Chair. Thank you. My name is Karen Rowland. I am a councillor in Abbey Ward. Thank you.
And we have Councillor Stanford Beale has let us know that she may be late.
I'm here.
Oh, she's arrived. Sorry, I didn't see you. Councillor Beale, welcome.
Thank you. Yes, I managed to get here from Shoreham. Councillor Jane Stanford Beale, Councillor for Peppard Ward. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks for the warm welcome back. I'm Josh Williams, Park Ward.
Rose Williams.
Thank you, Chair. Last but not least, as usual, end of the alphabet, Councillor Rose Williams from Catesgrove Ward.
Thank you and welcome to you all. I'll now introduce the planning officers and legal advisor who are joining us remotely during the evening. Richard Eatoff is planning team leader and he will advise the committee tonight on any matters relating to planning policy, guidance and practice. Case officers Susanna Bedford and Connie Davis are presenting the applications reports this evening, and Wendy Batterson is a solicitor in the Council's legal department and she is here to advise us on planning and local government law. Also probably explain that when people do see a recording of this, they will only see certain councillors because the equipment only allows us up to 7 people to be on camera. So the others, we will hear their voices, but we won't be able to see them. So I just in advance say, if we have any votes where it looks as though we're going to have a difference of opinion, I will need at that stage to call a roll call of voting, so everybody knows how everybody has voted. But if it looks as though it's going to be unanimous, I will just ask for people to indicate, and then we can record that as a vote in favour unanimously. Is that okay with everybody? Yep. Okay, thanks very much. Which takes us on to the minutes of the last meeting. Is everybody happy with those?
Agreed.
Thank you. Are there any declarations of interest? Councillor Josh Williams.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, my little boy goes to the fantastic Alfred Sutton primary school, so I shall declare an interest based on a family member for that application. Thank you.
And then we have questions. We don't have any this evening from either councillors or members of the public. And that takes us on to planning appeals, item 4 on page 13. And I believe Richard Eatoff is going to introduce this report.
Thank you, Chair. There have been 2 appeals lodged. One was a householder planning application. The other refers to the enforcement appeal inquiry, which is currently in train at St John's Road in Caversham. But please note there is a typo. It's number 8 St John's Road, not number 3 as shown on the agenda. For appeals decided at the time of publishing of the agenda, there are 6 decisions. All were dismissed, 3 of which have information reports on the agenda for you. 7173 Caversham Road, that was the former Drew's, the Ironmonger's site, 4 Downshire Square and 13 Kendrick Road. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. I thought I'd call Councillor Page to say it's a very good set of outcomes. 7-0, I think, is the score. So that's really well done. Some of those applications weren't straightforward. So well done to everybody that was involved in that. Councillor Page.
Yes, Chair, I'd endorse that. And can I firstly welcome you to your new role as Chair of the committee, and we look forward to working with you during the year. I would just like to make some comments about the Drew's decision, which is referenced on pages 19 and 20 of our papers. Chair, you will remember that this was a decision where we disagreed with the officer recommendation, and the committee unanimously voted to reject the application, which then went to appeal. I felt it was particularly important as one of those that led the charge in terms of proposing the refusal of that application, that one should attend and contribute to the planning appeal. My colleague Councillor Rowland also attended, and representatives from the Bell Tower Community Association and the Reading Conservation Area Advisory Committee also played no small part in the proceedings. And the inspector gave a very fair hearing to the points that were made. And I would highlight paragraphs 2.8 and 2.9, Chair, because these are important points that need to be reflected upon by the applicant and the owner of the site and any future applicants, because it does firstly underline the importance of the local listing and the historic significance of the building, which we felt due to the very considerable work that was undertaken by Bell Tower and the CAC in providing ammunition and evidence for the local listing. That played no small part in the inspector's decision, and 2.8 reflects that. And then there's the totality of the site, paragraph 2.9, where the group value and the site and the value of the site as a whole is also referenced. So I hope those 2 points will be taken forward, and no doubt the applicant will be considering options now, and hopefully will be embarking on new pre-app discussions with the council. But I think the decision was not only very welcome, but the inspector's narrative and the thoroughness of his decision will stand us in hopefully good stead for dealing with any future applications. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Anybody else want to speak on any of the other? Councillor Emberson.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to thank officers really in regard to 4 Downshire Square. And despite having been away from the committee for 2 years, it's clear we continue to uphold our refusals when they do go to the inspectorate. And I think that is a really proud track record we should have. 4 Downshire Square received a number of concerns from local residents, and the inspectorate sided with us in relation to that refusal. And I just wanted to pay tribute especially to Ethne Humphreys, who I liaise with as a ward councillor a lot on that application, and was refused due to being unsympathetic in that local area. It is a conservation area. There was a proposed loss of trees, and Downshire Square is very much known for trees on both sides, and it would have not been appropriate for trees to have been lost. And indeed, the inspectorate referred to the fact that they did not provide sufficient provision in terms of how they would have replaced such trees. There was also inadequate provision of car parking, and that was a real concern for local residents and was noted in the refusal. And in terms of taking on, I suppose, Councillor Ennis's role last year of reminding the committee about securing affordable housing, I think it's really important to note that the inspectorate sided with us in that regard, that the applicant had put forward affordable housing but had failed to put in the right clauses in their unilateral undertaking. So I'm glad the inspector upheld the view that the council will not accept sloppy affordable housing provisions being put forward in applications. And like Councillor Page has in relation to the Drews application, I would remind the applicant of the importance to engage with the council, especially in terms of pre-application. And I think this puts us in good stead for that site. So I'd just like to thank officers again for all their work on this. I think it's a really good result.
Thank you. Councillor Rowland, I think you were next.
Chair, thank you. Just really quickly, I just wanted to draw the attention that each of these 3 issues here that we have brought up this evening with 4 Downshire Square, with the Drews building, and with 13 Kendrick Road, all have to do with heritage structures and heritage sites. And I think it's something that we can be very proud of with this committee over the past number of years, the times that we have managed to stick up for heritage and working on keeping Reading. And in each of these 3 cases, the inspector made a very clear point of the fact that the heritage actually really mattered, that street trees mattered, that the that keeping our heritage as part of our built environment is very, very important. So I just wanted to point that out. And I think it's actually something we can be proud of. So thank you.
Thank you. I don't see anyone else. So can we agree to note that report? Thank you very much. It takes us on to item 5 on page 25, applications for prior approval. Richard Eatoff again to introduce this. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. This is your usual report detailing the applications that the local planning authority has received and decisions issued for prior approvals. The recommendation is that you note the report. However, there remains uncertainty as to how changes to the use classes order will affect the permitted development and prior approval systems. The transitional arrangements with the old use classes order run until the 31st of July this year, and so officers will provide a report before then to hopefully provide more on the new system. At members' request, in this report, officers will also include a review of the local plan to see which policies, supporting text and possibly other parts of the plan have been superseded by the relaxations in PD and PA since the local plan was formally adopted at the end of 2019. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I think that'll be very helpful. Has anybody got anything to say at this stage? I'm sure we'll have plenty to say when it comes back in greater detail. Can we note that report then? Thank you. And that takes us on to item 6, which is the consultation on changes to permitted development rights for electronic communications infrastructure on page 31. Richard Eatoff again. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I introduced this item on behalf of the report author, who was our local plan team leader, Mark Warringham. The report provides information on the government consultation on the planned relaxation of the current permitted development and prior approval systems to allow for an easier and quicker expansion of 5G telecoms coverage. The report summarises the key changes and asks for Office of Delegated Authority to agree a response to the consultation. The proposed changes include, for example, proposing relaxations in conservation areas, and this round of consultation goes into more technical detail than the previous consultation in 2019. It is clear that these changes, if they're made law, sorry, will result...
Richard, we lost you for a minute there.
No, I'm sorry, I lost my place on what I was reading. Joe, I'm there. It's clear that these changes, if made law, will result in more of the larger 5G communications infrastructure being built, either as PD, so that's permitted development not requiring express planning approval from the local planning authority, or with more limited controls from the local authority, usually via the prior approval of the local authority being required for the siting and design of the equipment. In that case, the principal provision is already effectively given. These relaxations may also allow telecoms proposals which have previously been refused under full applications or prior approval applications to come forward again using the PD or PA route. Members will also note the letter dated the 24th of May, which was circulated to you today. This was sent to the English Local Authority Chief Executives from Matt Warman MP, Minister for Digital Infrastructure. This confirms the government's commitment to the majority of the UK population to have 5G access by 2027. To do that, local planning authorities are being asked to determine applications swiftly, have effective delegation in place to provide timely decision making, and to not seek to prevent competition between operators. The government advises that there is no credible evidence of adverse public health effects and that local authorities should not set any local standards which depart from those set out internationally. The consultation questions are lengthy, and delegated authorities requested, working with the chair of PAC and the lead member for SEPT, to allow officers to respond to the consultation. Officers suggest that whilst the LPA is keen to see the benefits of 5G communication extended to as many parts of the borough as possible, there are concerns for our key views, open spaces, protection of trees, and other spaces, and these concerns will be communicated in the LPA's response. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Councillor Page, you were indicated first, then Councillor Devine.
Chair, this is obviously an issue of some concern, and over recent years we have had debates about elements of this consultation. Can I suggest, Chair, that we ask for the draft to be circulated to all members of the committee, and that this will obviously require, due to the short time scale, a response almost by return. But I think all members of the committee have views, particularly about the latter points that Richard Eatoff referred to. And you and I can obviously sign off the final response, but I think it would be appropriate to allow all members of the committee an opportunity to comment on the draft response. So through you, I would just ask officers then to get something circulated, ideally, if not by the end of this week, then the beginning of next week, so that you and I can then sign off a response by Friday week the 11th, because the 14th is a Monday, so effectively we'll need to get this done by the end of next week. And the local planning aspects, open space and other things that Richard has referred to are important points that we need to address in the response. Public health issues are not a matter for the local authority. That will be dealt with nationally. And I respect that there's some people have views about it, but that will not be an element, as I understand it, that will be for the local authority to impose its own views on, but the other legitimate planning concerns, I think, are ones that we would want to allow other members of the committee to comment on. And I would therefore propose, Chair, an additional point, an additional recommendation that the draft response be circulated to all members of the planning committee, and that any comments are then sent to you and me and officers, and then we can sign off the final response. I would propose accordingly, Chair.
Thanks. I'm happy to second that from the chair. But Councillor Devine indicating as well.
Yes, I just wanted to make some comments while we're here on the subject, because I was actually horrified when I read some of this. The consultation, in fact, asked us to give carte blanche to telecommunications companies to double the size of many existing masts without the need for consent or even comment from local residents or even their representation or their representatives. And that covers even masts in conservation areas. It forces us, if we get a new application for a mast, and it might only be for 15-metre high mast, but we need to now realise that if we give a authority to go ahead with a 50-metre mast, they can come back 2 weeks later and put a 25-metre mast, and it's double the width inside. This is just a nonsense. This is the most illiberal act I've come across in a while. It takes away local decision making, and it takes everything right out of our hands. And as I said, it gives carte blanche to the telecommunications companies to put masts more or less where they like. So yes, I think we should be sending a strongly worded response to that consultation.
Thank you. So hopefully we'll get some comments from you when we circulate the submission. Anybody else? Was that, no, I don't think so. In which case, with the addition of a 2.3, as Councillor Page outlined, so that the whole committee gets a chance to comment on our response as a council, can we agree the recommendations?
Agreed, Chair.
Thank you. On to the planning applications to be considered this evening. The first one, item 7 on page 39, is the Cox and Wyman site in Cardiff Road. And I believe Susanna Bedford is going to introduce this. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Chair. This application is to vary an existing Section 106 legal agreement relating to the redevelopment of the site for 96 residential units with the inclusion of play space. The Section 106 legal agreement that secured the provision of a local area for play currently requires that none of the permitted units are occupied until the play areas have been laid out to the satisfaction of the council. The developer is seeking to vary the Section 106 document to alter the timing of the provision of the play area to be prior to occupation of the 5th residential unit. This is due to the size of the site, which is fairly constrained, and the current construction sequence, which would mean that it would not be safe to allow the use of the play area on first occupation, as there will be constant construction traffic, scaffolding and materials stored in the areas until the handover date. It is therefore considered that the change of the provision of the play areas from occupation of the 1st to the 5th dwelling still maintains the requirement to secure those play areas to the satisfaction of the council, but is also the appropriate way to secure the safe handover of the play areas for existing and future occupiers. And on that basis, we seek that the variation is agreed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Rowland, you were indicating.
Thank you, Chair. I also did not mention earlier, I'm the lead member for Culture, Heritage and Recreation, and playgrounds are part of the business that I deal with in terms of recreation capacities, obviously, throughout Reading, and ensuring that we get good playground facilities on new developments is one of the very best ways that we can ensure that we've got play evenly distributed throughout the town where we've got populations that will actually use them and need them. So naturally, I'm inclined and feel quite confident that the officers have gone through the process here and are recommending us something in good faith. And I will look forward to ensuring that those designs are something that are accessible for all children and will be a wonderful addition to the playground landscape of the town. So I would heartily endorse the officer's recommendation on this, and I look forward to some really wonderful play on what we're looking forward to on a very wonderful site in the future. So thank you.
Thank you. Don't see anybody else. So can we agree the recommendation?
Agreed.
Agreed.
Thank you all very much. And
Chair,
then-
I was just going to ask something. I'm sorry, but from where I was hearing it here, is the committee clear that it was on the 50th unit?
Oh, yes.
Sorry,
So
it
that's
came
what
through.
I-
It came through from what I heard as the 5th unit. But as long as you're clear, it's the 50th unit. That's fine.
Yes, that's what's it. Yeah. Is
Okay.
everybody happy with
Thank
that?
you. Sorry. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. We're all agreed with that one. Thank you very much. And can we again go on to item 8 on page 43, the Alfred Sutton Primary School report and your yes, I think. Good evening. Thank you for coming. Right, Connie Davis, I believe, is introducing this one.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Regulation 3 planning permission is sought for the retention of a 2-storey temporary classroom and playground at Alfred Sutton Primary School for a further 5 years. The application site lies to the southeast of the junction of Crescent Road with Wokingham Road and contains a council-owned primary school. The application is presented to committee members as Reading Borough Council is the applicant. The temporary classroom has been in place since 2013 and is used for additional learning space and has been used for additional learning space while an extension to the main school was being carried out. The permanent extension has been completed, but the temporary classroom is wanting to be retained for an additional period of time. The reasoning for this, as presented in the supporting statement from the applicant, is that the continued additional space is required by the school due to the COVID-19 pandemic to ensure that they are compliant in terms of safety and to comply with pupil forecasting, as the school needs to ensure they have a 5% floating capacity available to provide accommodation to students should the need arise. Whilst officers are mindful that the proposal will result in the continued loss of open space, due to the temporary nature of the proposal and the use of the site, it is considered justifiable in this instance. A condition will be attached ensuring the land is reinstated, which is also agreeable with consultation with Sport England. As such, due to the temporary nature of the proposal, it is not considered to harm neighbouring amenity, and the scheme is deemed acceptable in terms of policies EN8 and CC8 of the Reading Borough Local Plan. And so the recommendation is to grant permission subject to conditions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Not seeing anyone indicating. So are we happy to agree this?
Agreed.
Agreed.
Thank you very much. And that's it. It won't always be as short as this, I assure you. But anyway, perhaps it's as well to have a short one tonight while we all get used to all this new kit and things. But and no doubt that will evolve as well. So thank you for your attendance. Slightly longer than the council meeting, I think, but